Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. I'm really excited this week to be joined by another Sophie, Sophie Foote. Sophie has never been one for playing it safe. At just 26, she bought a beach in Indonesia and built her own scuba diving resort, not as a side project, but as a full-blown business and a life choice driven by freedom, adventure, and doing things differently. After building, scaling, and selling that business overseas, Sophie came back to the UK and started again from scratch. So using her own savings, she built a property business to over £1 million in revenue in just 4 years. Now Sophie is working with mums, dads, and anyone else who wants more flexibility to help build simple, sustainable income through property and investing, but without sacrificing the family time or the life that they really want to live. So I'm really excited to learn a bit more about what was behind some of those choices and see what role personal branding has played in you making that pivot. So welcome to the show, Sophie Foote.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
So I want to start with buying a beach, not like a beach. How do you even buy a beach, and tell me how that came about, because that is wild.
Yeah, it's the best thing I've ever done, I think. Best thing I can talk about. Everyone's like, you bought a beach? Yeah, I did. I'm a scuba diving instructor. So I went on a gap year before university and went to teach English in Malaysia. I taught English for 3 months and then I found the diving and got diving and found the turtles and the sharks and the reefs, fell in love with it and became a diving instructor. And then throughout uni, I had about 3 months off every summer. So I got jobs in Thailand, Vietnam, Fiji. And then I finished uni, met my husband, and I said to him, I'm not done yet. I have itchy feet, don't want to live in England, just want to be on a beach. But being a diving instructor, you don't earn much cash. You earn enough to have a few beers, rent an apartment or a hut on the beach, but that's about it. So we said, I need my own dive business. So we looked on divecenterforsale.com and found this land for sale in Indonesia and then just went for it.
That is wild. So how long did you have that for?
5 years.
5 years. What made you sell up and move back?
So we had our 2 kids out there. We decided to start a family and we had gone from a beach with just mangroves and trees and jungle to, we'd gone from nothing to having a really good business because we'd built cottages, restaurant, dive center. We had 2 boats. We had Indonesian staff. And it was really interesting how we were doing everything ourselves at the start. And then we had managed to delegate and systemize by the end of it and build a team. And so our kids were 1 and 2, little beach toddlers. It was really cute. And we were thinking, right, they need to go to school at some point. And the options out there were local school in the village, which was very remote, sort of very casual part-time and all in Indonesian, or move to Bali, which was a 3-hour flight away to do an international school, but then we wouldn't be in our home. So we thought, okay, we've done it. We've built the business over 5 years. It's time to sell while it's still good. So yeah, we sold it and we came back to the UK.
So you've done that amazing adventure. Sounds brilliant. And then you've moved back. Presumably you didn't move back and open a diving centre in the UK. Did you pivot straight into the property side of things? What did that look like?
That's a very good question, Sophie. And the answer is air traffic control.
Of course.
Literally, when we were on the plane leaving Indonesia, I said to my husband, right, that was my dream. My dream was to buy a beach, start a dive business, teach people to dive, live on a remote island. We've done it. Tick. What's your dream? And he said, air traffic control. And I was like, right, okay, what do you need to do for that? And basically it's less than 1% of people get into air traffic control.
Yeah, it's competitive.
It's quite difficult. You have to have a good brain. So he did the online tests and he got through. And then he did the in-person tests and he got through. And then he did a day of interviews and he kept getting through. And he said, right, I've got the job. I just need to move to Spain for 6 months to do the training. And I was like, well, I've got toddlers. I could live in Spain. So we moved to Spain for 6 months. He did his training. And then I was there with the kids. And whilst I love playing with my kids and being with the toddlers, I was a bit bored mentally. So I thought, I wonder if I could get in. So I started doing the online tests and I got invited to the in-person day and I got in as well.
No way.
So we moved back to England. We both started at the college, and then the pandemic came and they fired us all. They said, sorry, 122 trainees got made redundant because there were no more planes to control. And so we had the pandemic, we pivoted again. Simon got a job in the ambulance service as a dispatcher, and I thought, I need my own business again. It's time. And I found this model of basically property management, and that's what we've been building for the last 4 years.
So is your husband in the business as well, or has he still got a normal job as well? Or?
He joined after about a year because we scaled the business quite quickly. So I kept taking on these properties that needed all this work, and he would help here and there. And then eventually it was generating enough cash to pay us both. So yeah, we do it together.
And I guess you've not looked back then.
Yeah, it scaled really well. And now we've got a team. We've got 2 people who work for us full time.
Amazing. Well, it's sad though that he didn't get to do his dream of air traffic control, but it looks like you've got another dream. But you tried. I mean, we could not have planned for that pandemic, could we?
Yeah. And actually we look at it now and think, it's a very well paid job, but it is all shift work.
Yes.
And then basically all you're either based in an airport tower or you're based in Southampton in the big control centre. So we wouldn't have been able to move where we are now, which is really close to the beach in Dorset.
So thinking about your personal brand and your story, you've obviously have had a bit of a squiggly career, which I think most people have these days, to be fair. It's very different from, when I finished uni and you went and you got a job and you stayed at the same place. Like, people have moved on from that. How have you found having a personal brand has helped you to move into these new areas? Have you had to kind of start again, or do you feel like your story is your story and it's been able to carry you through each of these changes?
Yeah, I think personal brand means that you can do different things and people will follow you because it's you. So I didn't really think about personal brand until I started the property business, and people actually started approaching me for mentoring and coaching, because in Indonesia, we just had the resort, people turned up, had a great time, left again. Working in air traffic control, that's, a job. You don't really need a personal brand for that. But when you're trying to attract people to you, I think your story is really important. And because I've dealt with things like tsunami warnings, wildfires, and like really serious stuff like that, not a lot stresses me out, not a lot rattles me. And so I don't mind saying, I'm a mum, I like beach walks, I like to make money, I like to help other mums. I don't care what other people think of me. I've been trolled a bit, don't really care about that.
What kind of trolling have you had on where and why?
The trolling has all been men going, no, you haven't done that.
Questioning results that you've had, or?
Always, yeah. And I think, when you're putting yourself out there online, it can be a horrible world, can't it? And I think a lot of people worry, what will people think? I don't really care about that. I really don't, because I'm happy. I've got a good business. I've got my family. So I think it's the authenticity thing that people always bang on about. That's what I do. And actually, I now attract a lot of mums who want more time with their family because they can see that in me, I think.
Now, you are in an industry, I think property is an industry that does attract quite strong personalities and people that either have good reputations in that industry, or ones that don't, where people think they're a bit scammy and there's lots of stuff, isn't there, around, run to the back of the room style training and people whacking courses on credit cards and all that sort of stuff. Have you seen that when you've been out and about at property events or just in the industry in general?
Yes, definitely. It's not a very regulated industry, property training, at all. So anyone can say, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, without having done anything. They're just really good at sales and marketing. And yeah, there are loads of massive training companies who charge 10 or 15 grand for a course, and they don't worry about whether you can afford it or not. And there are criminal people out there. There are a lot of people out there who say, give me your life savings, I'll build you a portfolio, and then they'll use your money for a previous project. And some of these people are in prison now. And I've met some of these people. And, I will be honest, a couple of years ago, I wanted to leave the property industry because I got targeted by some really powerful men. And I can't say much about it other than it made me want to leave the industry. And then I just thought, no, we need refreshing voices. We need more women. We need people doing it honestly and in a good way. So that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you've stuck it out and been able to role model things in a bit more of a positive way. Because I guess when I've dabbled in property, I had a plan, and we were talking earlier, weren't we, around sort of some of my investing strategies. And when I sold my first business, my plan was to buy 27 properties, which sounds like such a random number. And it was around, it was some weird math that I'd done around replacing my income with property income and stuff. Anyway, I gave up after 3 because I don't love it. I think if I had tons of spare cash, would I do a bit more? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I find it a bit challenging at the moment with all the regulations and things that have come in. And I feel like I'm a really ethical landlord, which is great, like you should be. But then it means there's no real money in it for me at the moment with my strategy, because I'm quite dull in that I like very vanilla professional buy to lets. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But when I was really into it and researching it, I used to see these really strong male, always male personalities that were bragging about how many millions they had and showing off cars and all that kind of thing. And it just felt a bit icky. So, and I remember at the time reading lots of books on property as well. And I think I read one by a woman that I loved because it felt a bit more relatable, and she spoke in a way or wrote in a way that it resonated for me and I could understand it. Whereas some of the male stuff was just a bit much. It was just a bit bro, and I don't know. I did find it uncomfortable. So I can understand how you would have felt that way. So how long have you been doing the property stuff for now?
It's over 4 years, I think.
Wow, so it's still quite new, really, isn't it? And how do people find you? Like, what kinds of activities have you been doing to raise your profile so that people get in touch with you?
So I joined Instagram quite early on in my business, and I had a social media friend and he said, get on video, make loads of reels, go live, get on video and just show what you're doing every day. So I did that. And that was just about me, what I was doing in my property business. And that brought in my first ever mentoring client, because they said, hey, looks like you've done really well. Can you mentor me? And I said, no, I don't really do that. But he kind of convinced me. And then he did really well. And I thought, oh, I can give value to people. I do a little bit on LinkedIn. I also write for a property magazine.
Nice.
So they interviewed me in my first year because I think I'd taken on 9 properties in the first year. And I really got on well with the editor. And I wrote to her afterwards and said, can I contribute to this magazine? Can I just, here are all my ideas, and just threw 20 ideas at her. And she said, yeah, we'll give you a go. And so I've just finished writing for them, actually, but I wrote every month for 3 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is so good. And you've pulled on quite a few things there that, I would be suggesting in terms of activities. So that just getting on with it. So Instagram's obviously been a platform that's worked well for you, and doing the videos and just showing people what you're up to. I mean, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. LinkedIn's more my platform, but I think it doesn't matter which platform. It's that consistency and showing up, and obviously video does do well, and it's hard to hide behind a video. Like if you're showing people what you're up to and it's you chatting, then that's clearly you. You're not putting on a front for that. But I love the writing for the magazine thing, because clearly that's going to be a magazine that people that are interested in the industry are going to read. So by you having that column or whatever it was for 3 years, that's so meaty and gives you so much authority to then be sharing that, or people have seen that. You need to have that in your bio around, I wrote for this magazine for 3 years and all the stuff on that. That's really cool. Have you ever thought about doing a book?
Yes, it's on my list, actually. I really want to write a book this year.
Come on one of our writing retreats. You would love it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you would absolutely love it. They're so good. But in your space, in what you do, it would be such a gift, because it would just act like a magnet for people to come and find it. Because, if you rewind to when I was thinking that I was going to really get into property, I would have loved to have read more books by females in the space, because I think, like I say, there is such a natural gap, I think, for those kinds of books. And do you typically attract women as clients, or is it quite mixed? Because I guess property you do still think of as being a bit more male dominated.
Yes, most of my clients are women. Yeah.
So then you definitely need to be doing a book for that. And obviously you've got other ideas, I know, around investing more generally. So that would be just such a magnet for you, because people would find you from that. It would be so good. You've got to do that. It will lead on to other things in the way that your career's kind of, your business journey's gone from different things, and it's then led to other things. It's the same when you do a book, like the opportunities that you get offered off the back of it. So it's funny you saying you had a column in a magazine. I got offered a column in a magazine after doing my first book. So these are the kinds of things that happen. But I think you do really well. I think it would go down really well. So that would be
be on my
something.
list this year then.
Yeah, you should do it. You should so do it. What about things like events? Do you go to many events?
Yes. Well, a lot of property events. It's just like Holiday Inn boardroom with loads of men talking at you. And I've been to loads of them. But I've now sort of found my way, and I'm more attracted to different kinds of events, female brunches or, more fun networking events. And I'm a bit more intentional about events now. I either want to go to learn something, or I want to go and have a nice time with my friends, or I want to go and, actually, whether I'm paying or I'm speaking, to actually be an authority.
I can see that working well for you around going to events that aren't just specifically about property, because I think pretty much everyone I know who has some disposable income has got an interest in property. So they're kind of your audience, aren't they? They're not necessarily people that are in property already, because they think that they already know everything. It's the normal everyday person that's ready to invest but doesn't really know what to do, and you can help them.
Yeah. And I'm going to be talking more this year about investing in things like the stock market, which again makes it even wider because you can start with very little cash. So I want to be talking to more business owners about that.
That is exciting. You've got lots to go at, Sophie.
Yeah.
You really have. It's super, super exciting. If anyone watching or listening hasn't come across it before and is thinking, this is interesting, I need a piece of this, where's the best place for them to find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Sophie Foote with an E on the end, or Instagram, Sophie Coach by the Beach.
Amazing. We'll pop links to both of those in the show notes just to make it super easy for people to find you. Thanks so much for chatting to me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.